Welcome back to Studio F, where on Fast Times Willy B, we'll be reviewing The Abyss for its 35th anniversary. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russ!
Welcome back to Fast Times Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got Turbo back for The Abyss 35th anniversary. How we doing?
I'm doing well, Butter. How are you?
I'm doing good as well.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
So-
I would rather be nowhere else.
So, that's awesome. I'm happy. And that's what I want. I want my guests to be nowhere else but on this, on this podcast.
That's right.
But again, The Abyss, 35th anniversary. James Cameron.
Big one.
Before this, Terminator and Aliens were the big ones. This joined the ranks as another sci-fi epic from the man himself.
Yep, I think that those two allotted him the opportunity to have this undertaking.
Yeah. And then you got Ed Harris. You got Mary Elizabeth. Oh, you're going to have to say it.
Master Antonio.
Yes.
From Scarface fame.
Yep.
She played Gina in Scarface. She also plays Lindsay in this.
What a last name.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
I like Ed
Could you
Harris.
imagine her in elementary school? Oh, that poor kid.
So bad. Ed Harris. Just names like that.
Ed Harris rules, though. He really...
Yes, he does.
He's really good in this movie. In my opinion, he's excellent in everything he does, but in this especially.
But we'll start with our good and the acting. I mean, Ed Harris was fantastic. Mary Elizabeth was great too. The guy that plays Coffee,
Michael Biehn.
Michael Biehn, yes, he was great. All of the supporting characters.
A lot of the usual suspects from a Cameron movie, though. I mean, if you've seen stuff before and even after this, you'll see a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah. But Michael Biehn was fantastic as that, like, getting, the underwater psychosis.
Yeah,
really
he got
taking the shakes, and
the pressure sickness is what he got. Yep.
And he did it really well. Coffee was a scary character there.
Trained, capable, and insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, from my understanding of it, the pressure sickness is a real thing.
Yeah.
Because I know when you go
up too
ascending,
fast.
I know that you can get stuff, but even being down there for a certain amount of time can really mess with you.
Yeah, because, if you've seen the wretched 47 meters down, you know the ascendant. That movie, that's for another day.
I forget what the condition is called, but you get the something when you ascend too quickly.
The suds. No.
It's something like that. If you guys know, please leave in the comments, because you're much smarter than I am.
But, no, pressure sickness is a real thing, as far as diving and going underwater in general. We've obviously seen in real world implications the horror stories of going too deep in the pressure too, with what just happened last year.
Oh my God, with the Ocean Gate stuff.
Yeah, with Ocean Gate trying to find the Titanic and stuff like that.
Jim Cameron was also semi involved with the investigation of that too. Because I think other than him, there's only one other guy that has as much time in the ocean as he does.
Yeah, and but something that I love about this movie is it's a movie that really puts a focus on we really don't know what's below us.
I think that this is, again, one of those that deserves multiple watches. Yeah. Can I give a brief synopsis for people who who haven't seen this? There's no spoilers, but essentially what's going on, it's in the middle of the 80s. Cold War stuff is very real. A U.S. sub goes down in what's essentially like a Marianas Trench type situation where it's deep, deep ocean. And on that sub are live nuclear missiles. Mm-hmm. The United States military obviously doesn't want to leave live nukes at the bottom of the ocean floor. They want to see if maybe we can recover some of the crew, if possible, and definitely the nukes. So what the United States government then does is enlist Navy SEALs to go down, submerge, and team up with a real-life floor drilling team. They're an oil drilling team that drills from the bottom of the ocean. It is almost a moon pool bubble. It's the same idea if you took a glass, turned it upside down, and just pushed it into a big bathtub. There's going to be an air bubble in there, and that's essentially what these people are living in while drilling.
Yeah.
And these people are tasked to help these Navy SEALs get down to the sub safely because of the pressure and all this stuff and return with these nukes.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. But it's just, obviously the mission they're on is probably the overlying story, but then you have this side story that's going on when you discover that they're not alone.
They are not alone.
And beautiful creatures, by the way. And, again, for the 80s, looks great.
Incredible.
James Cameron did a great job with the effects on these underwater aliens or whatever you want to call them. Very colorful.
They're NTIs.
Yeah.
Non-terrestrial.
Yeah.
Remember he said, well, I guess NTIs.
Yeah. But very colorful, like the pinks, the purples, the bright blues.
Very flowy.
Fluorescent.
Yeah, very not a lot of form to it.
Yeah.
Everything is very flowy.
Very jellyfish-like almost.
Yeah.
But you got the oil rig team who's like, we've got to, figure out what this is. And then you got the SEALs who are like, it's the Russians.
Yep.
And so they're trying to get this nuke launched now. And the oil rig team, and then you got them button heads, and it gets tense.
Oh, yeah.
This movie has a lot of good tension, especially between Mary Elizabeth's character and Coffee.
Yes.
They are...
And rightfully so.
They're the two that butt heads a lot.
Yep.
But, you got a whole scene, you see his psychosis really starting to break. They put the stuff underwater. They lock the Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth's team in, or Bud, I should say, Bud's team in the room. And then it takes them convincing and the help from, Hammer came around?
Yep, Hammer, yeah, because he, again, during the dive to the nuke was injured and was in like a semi-coma type situation.
Yeah. And so just all of that gets them out of the room, and it's a tense battle. You get a little face-off basically, and then it gets you to this final hoorah, and it's Bud. After the little battle, you got Bud has to save his wife's life, and that's an intense scene. That's a tearjerker.
That is, in my opinion, again, one of the toughest scenes to watch. Yeah. I know that the actors had a difficult time. I'm not exaggerating here when I say that if you go online and you look for Ed Harris or Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio interviews about The Abyss, other than interviews that were made for a documentary that they were paid for called Under Pressure, Making of The Abyss, which I highly recommend. Other than that, they refused to do interviews on The Abyss.
Yeah.
Because it was such a shitty experience for them. They had such an awful time. They were put through the ringer.
Jeez.
With this. You guys have to understand that this movie, this is well before the age of CGI ease.
Yeah.
Yes, there is some CGI in this, in the water tentacle sequence.
Yeah.
That I think that scene took 3 months for Dennis. I think it's Dennis Neary. I think it's Dennis Murin. Dennis Murin from Industrial Light and Magic did that. But you have to understand that the world that was created for this movie, those shots that you see approaching the vessel and the rig, this was actually filmed in an old nuclear containment tank. I think it's something like 100 million gallons. Wow. They filled the tank, built these sets. These are real sets underwater, and to break the surface, because what happens is when you're underwater and it's still for a long time, it's like a mirror.
Yeah.
You can see everything up top there. Yeah. And they thought, well, maybe if we put a tarp over, it'll black it out, but you still need to be able to surface safely. So what they did is they purchased millions, thousands and millions of beads, little black beads, and dumped it on the surface level. And what you would get is about a foot thick of this shit, mucky beads, but it would create blackness so that everything was black and it looked like deep ocean underneath. And in the event of an emergency, which there were dozens during this production, you could still surface.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that scene is, the emotion is there. And then right after that, you get Bud's taking the scent to get the nuke deactivated. And that's another emotional scene because you got...
What would it take for you to do that, Will? The fluid breathing suit, which is real, by the way. That is not bullshit.
Dude. I don't
think I could do it.
I don't think I could either. I would freak out.
Again, if you watch this Under Pressure making of, you can see they don't put Ed Harris through it, obviously. He's not equipped to do that. But the scene where they have the rat in the cage, they used 4 different rats, I believe, maybe 3. All survived. Everything worked the way it should. And the seal that is giving him instructions in the movie is a real seal.
That's cool.
So it's like they didn't really have to get an actor for him. And he says, breathe it into your lungs. Everything's going to be okay. Like, this is probably how he talks to the guys that are freaking out in front of him. Yeah. He says, you breathe, your body breathed fluid for 9 months. It'll remember. Yeah. Dude, you can't tell me that. You're drowning. No. You're drowning.
Yeah. No, it was a lot, but, you got them talking to him as he's breaking the world record, and he's talking back, and then you see him start to freak out, and then he says, I knew this was a one-way trip.
He ran out of oxygen.
But then you had that feeling, like, all right, when is he going to be saved?
When are the NTIs going to step in?
Yeah, and that's what happens, and it's a really cool scene when it comes out of the water and lifts the naval carriers and all of that out of the water too.
Everything. It's like, those things are enormous coming up out.
And then you don't get the pressure sickness because they did something, they must have done something to us.
They sure did.
You could say that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's very, very cool. I usually don't like those sort of whimsical, I guess, E.T.-esque style endings. But I really thought this was cool. And especially in the director's cut when they sort of give a little bit more information when he's down there with the NTIs and he's trying to talk to him a little bit and they're showing flashes on the screen of why we're saving you and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. I thought that really kind of took an enormous story and brought it back down to a man and a wife. Yeah. And Ed Harris and, Mary Elizabeth, because they were estranged this whole movie.
I think they did a good job with the romance.
Oh, God. I think they did great.
Pushing them through things that would bring them back to being close. And because at the beginning, I hate that bitch. Then why did you marry her?
He threw the wedding ring away, and he had a blue hand the whole rest of the time because he knew he fucked up, and he knew he had to go back in there for that ring.
Yeah. Yeah. And that ring saved him, too.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And just the production of that movie is just unbelievable. There will never be another Abyss production.
No. Also has a good score. It looks so good. It does. Very well shot. Very, very beautiful creatures. Obviously there are, like you said, some special effects. I think for 89 they looked pretty good.
I think they still hold up relatively well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not overly. It's not like heavy. It's just sort of a thing. It's just sort of a small sequence.
It's mostly the NTIs, obviously. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a very good watch.
I really enjoy The Abyss. I think that in my opinion, that's James Cameron's. That is his dark horse. That is a really underrated movie that nobody talks about.
Yeah, I really didn't know what to expect going into it because the synopsis I read said something like Navy SEALs team up with oil rig to save a sunken ship. And something goes wrong. That's all it said.
Right.
So there's...
You're thinking it's going to be like Hunt for Red October, but underwater instead of on and in.
So when these creatures are showing up, I'm like, what the hell's going on now? Like, it kind of threw me for a loop.
But didn't it give you sort of a Predator vibe?
Yeah.
Where it's like this starts out as sort of a very claustrophobic military operation and then turns into what
fantastical,
in the hell? Yeah.
Avatar-esque James Cameron,
Yep.
But no, I liked it. I liked the creatures too. I said too, like at first I didn't know how I felt about them being like kind of the cop-out savior, but like I like how it shines light on we really don't know the depths of the ocean below us. And that's...
Outer space and inner space. I think inner space is just as scary, man.
That's scary to think about. There could be that giant ship.
Megalodons, dude.
Yeah. But, it's like you said, it's just whimsical. It has that magical feel to it.
It feels... It feels very 80s, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, not in like the Miami Vice thing, but I guess in the way that movies still made you feel like this is special.
Yeah.
You know, the same way you feel when you watch Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This still feels like this is special. It doesn't feel like, all right, just play this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. It's funny because when I was watching this, to do this review, it was late. And I was like an hour and a half, and I was like, I might just pause it and finish it tomorrow. And I was like, no, I'll watch 10 more minutes, and then the rest of the movie passed. And I was like, because that 10 minutes really hooked me in.
Yeah.
I was like, I think it was when Coffee's starting to really get into psychosis or something like that.
And when he stole the ROV thing, it was like,
and I was like, oh, I got to see where this goes. And
Talk
then,
about that.
And then I was like, oh, I got to see if she's brought back to life. And I was like, oh, I got to see him go to the bottom. And then just kept, like, I have to see the next scene. You know what I mean? And
when Coffee imploded, though, that to me, that had to, like, that's terrifying.
It almost made me sick because it made me think of Ocean Gate.
Yep.
It did.
Yep. And it does make you, like, just gone.
You know, like, obviously when it happened in the movie, you're not thinking about that because, like, when this movie came out. But watching it after something like that happened, it hit a little harder.
And then he's just sitting there, you can just see the big cracks going across. Oh,
yeah.
Dude, the anxiety, and he's just going backwards down. Oh, my God, dude, I can't imagine. I can't swim.
Yeah. I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's probably painless, quick.
I actually, TMI probably, but I watched this thing on YouTube about Ocean Gate that was sort of breaking down the logistics of the implosion. And the human brain, I believe, it takes something like 80 milliseconds to send a pain response from your brain to your body. And the implosion was like 25 milliseconds. So it's like it didn't even have time to...
Yeah.
You're just...
And that's not taking away from the sadness.
No. But that's making it even more... That's sad, dude. Like...
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying, like, oh, they didn't feel it. Like,
no.
It's still a sad... I'm saying in Coffee's situation, like you're talking about, like, imagine the anxiety go through. That's probably the scariest part.
Oh, my God.
When it happens, you wouldn't...
There's nothing you can do.
Know.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
It does have a little extra weight because of that situation that happened not too long ago.
Yeah, which it's just... And again, I know Cameron was involved with that, and I don't even know exactly what happened with that whole thing, but that's just awful.
Yeah.
And like Will was saying, this kind of gives you new eyes.
Yeah.
And sort of like a sinking feeling, because you know that's very close to what it...
And you could say Coffee got what he deserved. The people, though, in real life didn't.
No, yeah, they didn't.
And that's where, you know, it's unfortunate. But
and even he was kind of a victim too, because he had that that wasn't him. That was the pressure.
That's true. That's true. Is there anything else that really stuck out to you in the good? I mean, this is another one where a lot of it falls in the good. It's just a very good film.
I think, to me, he being Jim Cameron, he did for ocean movies what Kubrick did for outer space movies with this movie.
Okay. I will say it started a little slow, but the pacing really is really good once the ball gets rolling.
Once you get rolling, man, you're fired.
You're locked in.
Yep.
You're locked in.
Yep.
But we can hop over to the meh. The only major meh I have is I did think the cab fight was cheesy looking.
Which one? Oh, with the ROV things?
Like when Coffee was going up against them in the cabs.
And they're knocking into each other.
I think the end result was like a good conclusion, and then you had we have to rush her back and save her. Like, all of that was very powerful.
But the actual chase.
The chase, it just was... and it's tough because it's 89, but it was cheesy. It was kind of slow.
Yeah.
So I was like, if these things were whizzing around the water, that's one thing. But they're going like 2 miles per hour.
Yeah, they're
and I'm
going like 5 knots or something.
And then when they run into each other, it's so anticlimactic. I'm like...
God, that stuff just terrifies me. Just being in a little air bubble like that.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, we got to get something going because I need to feel the tension. This isn't. And then when he falls off, I'm like, oh. And then the water starts filling. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like,
and
that's when you start feeling the tension.
And then you freak out because you're like, it's a small leak. Like, we can fix this. And then he's like, all I need's a damn crescent wrench.
Yeah.
And that's literally it. And he has to let her drown in there, dude.
Dude, that's fucking brutal. That scene's tough when he puts the mask on. She's like, I don't think I can do it. Yeah. I don't think I can do it.
And she says, I just might not be such a good idea.
Yeah, like, Virgil. And like, your heart's sinking.
But the thing, like, when he's...
Dude, I was crying when they were trying to resuscitate her.
Swimming through the water. Like, that's not CGI. That's that tank I was telling you about. Yeah. Okay, we need you guys to hold your breath. Okay, divers, get out of the shot. Now you guys can start swimming. Let us know when you get out of breath, and then they have to wait another 20 seconds for these guys to come to you. Brutal.
Yeah, yeah. But I shed some tears, man.
Oh, dude, that movie's brutal. I'm not gonna lie, I've cried watching that movie many times.
Yeah, but that's like the only major meh I have is that like the payoff was there because you get Coffee falling off the cliff and his demise, and then you get an intense scene after that. So like there was payoff, but that whole scene was just kind of like very anticlimactic until that point. Like,
did you like his mustache?
The chasing, yeah.
He looks like Zach, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to Zach. I know he watches, and I know he's been on the show before.
I honestly think that a fist fight would have been.
You think that'd have been better?
It's just tough because then you wouldn't have had the cab.
They had to get. It sounds awful, but they had to get her dead.
Yeah.
So that they could pull the reverse, get Bud down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds awful, I know, but they needed a writing vessel to get her.
Yeah.
In the situation.
Yeah.
I thought the fist fight that they did have was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Because Bud wouldn't stand a chance.
No.
I mean, hand-to-hand combat, it is what it is. These guys they're roughnecks.
Navy SEALs.
They're roughnecks, man. These guys working on oil rig. These guys are SEALs. These guys are trained to kill people, dude.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Did you have any mehs that really?
For me, the only meh that I have, I guess, would be with the director's cut.
Okay.
I think that they do pontificate a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think it does get a little bit preachy in that cut because Bud asks, why are you doing this? And the aliens show him like all the world wars and all the bad things, and they sort of expand on why. Because there's a tidal wave sequence where all those huge tidal waves are on the coasts.
Yeah. And
these aliens are going to wipe out humanity unless we get our shit together, basically.
Yeah.
I could have... When I was younger, it was fine, but as I get a little bit older now, I'm like, you don't need to, like, preach to people.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was a little preachy.
Yeah.
I think people got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Without doing that. But that was my only meh. Everything else I think is fantastic.
The water stream, I forgot to mention that, looked good. The water stream looked really good.
Yeah.
Where it's like...
The snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tentacle.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great scene. And, it turned into them and...
And then when it gets cut and it just turns into a wall, like, that was cool, too.
That's cool. Like, it still holds up. And
yeah.
To me, Cameron is the master of that.
Yeah. I wish we got a little more info on them, though, for sure.
On who? The SEALs?
The NTIs.
Okay, yeah.
Like, finding out more. Like, not to the extent where, like, I need to know all the world wars and stuff, but, like, what exactly they were, you know what I mean?
How long you been here type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But... Still, overall, just a really good movie.
Very good.
I don't have anything in the bad.
I like the design of their suits, of the ship. I think Ron Cobb did the design of that.
Okay.
But yeah, really, really impressive because it all works.
Yeah. Did you have anything in the bad?
No, I don't have anything in the bad. I really don't.
Well, up to our final thoughts and ratings. What do you want to leave off with The Abyss? And what do you give it out of 10?
I give it a 9.
9? Okay.
I give it a 9. It is absolutely in probably my top 10. It's not an art house movie. It's nothing super deep, poignant that you're gonna ponder over. It's just a damn good movie. It's a really good movie.
I'm gonna go 8.5. Same, similar responses. It's a really good movie. There is quite a bit I probably like more than it, but it's one of those movies that I didn't know really what to expect going into it, and I was happy with what I watched, for sure.
I'll make you a friendly bet. Going forward now, every water movie that you see, every underwater movie that you see, you will compare to The Abyss.
Probably.
And you'll be like, The Abyss did it better.
Yeah. I mean, so far, like, if we're talking Cameron, it's probably my favorite movie of his. I haven't seen The Terminator. I know that probably breaks my heart.
I think
I
would really like to introduce you to The Terminator properly because I think it's got a lot of time under its belt.
Those are movies I gotta watch with you. I know.
I think that it's got a lot of stigma. You know, a lot of and people make fun of it and shit like that. But those movies the first two are incredible.
But I like this movie more than Titanic. I like this movie more than Aliens by a hair. That's where it's close. And I like this movie more than both Avatars by a little bit too. Yeah,
I agree. I think the Avatars are fine. Yeah. I don't have anything. I think there's a lot of unnecessary hate for those movies.
Oh, I like both of them a lot.
But
I just think I like this more.
To me, this is definitely top 3 Jim Cameron.
Yeah,
I definitely would put it top 3 Jim Cameron, no doubt. And I like Jim Cameron, and I think he gets a lot of flack.
No, I think he's great. I wish we got a Spider-Man movie.
I think he's tough to work with.
Yeah,
I think he's tough to work for, I should say.
If you look at the best directors, that's a common theme. I mean, Kubrick had his flaws, and Coppola had, his, quirks. It seems like the only director that's in most people's top 5 conversation that nobody, complains about too much is Spielberg.
Spielberg and Tarantino.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard, other than, the weird feet, funny shit that you hear about him, I haven't heard
much on Scorsese either.
No, I haven't heard anything horror stories of him ripping somebody or anything like that.
But Kubrick, I've heard stories of Coppola. I've heard
Oliver
stories
Stone.
of Cameron. Yes,
I've heard some really some not great stuff.
Yeah, so some people have different methods.
Hey, if the end result is Apocalypse Now or The Godfather or The Abyss or Terminator or something like that. I mean, it can be argued that it was worth it.
Yeah. That'll do it for The Abyss. Turbo, thank you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Watch The Abyss.
For sure. Watch it. 35 years old. Thank you all for watching this video. If you like what you're watching, please check out some of these other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. We appreciate anything, and we will talk to you all soon. Peace.